All right, hey everybody. My name is Robert Campbell, and I did my observation hours at In the Leaders Charter School, ILCS. I'm a senior student at CSUSB, and I'm pursuing a credential in PE after my graduation in the fall of 2025. Beyond there, I'm going to be pursuing a master's degree, but that'll come in the future. So for the site I observed, it's an urban school in Yucaipa. It's located in one of the neighborhoods just outside of like the uh, Yucaipa Boulevard. It's a K through eighth grade school, and there's about 900 1,030 students enrolled with 45 full-time teachers. Um, there's one elementary PE teacher and one middle school PE teacher. I was observing the PE teacher for this class. Class sizes varied from 30 to 50 depending on the school day, and some days they were combined depending on if it was a spirit day or they just needed to cut down time. A lot of the times they treat PE time as a prep period, so they will combine those classes and shrink the amount of time each class would have individually to receive physical education. The site teacher was male, and he's credentialed in PE from CSUSB, and he has about 15 years of experience, not just at his current site, but at a few other sites. So for the observations, I observed a pickleball lesson. I observed a rainy day in which they watched Remember the Titans, and then I saw a free play day in which he did the stereotypical roll out the equipment cart and let the kids play. For class organization, the attendance in the classroom was taken. They got a like activity introduction and they discussed the activity, and then they were immediately sent out for independent practice and gameplay. Student participation was very consistent with only some off task here and there. For teaching effectiveness, I would say it needs improvement. He's a very good coach and a very good sports coordinator for or athletic coordinator for his school. I would like to see more lesson planning and more teaching of lessons that cater to the learning of the students rather than just participating in a game. For his management and demonstration, he's a very firm but personable person. Um, he manages his classes very well, and they have a lot of respect for him, and that's something that he has garnered over time. Um, he demonstrates his lessons. He's very fit and knowledgeable, and I'd say he's very athletic. So he's able to demonstrate everything he wants to bring to them each and every day. Because of those reasons, um, his feedback and encouragement. A lot of the times that what I saw was just verbal, active feedback when they were participating in the activity, and his encouragement. I saw it pretty much every lesson. It would be statements like "good job," "great serve," if it was pickleball, um, or just "you're doing great," stuff like that. His interactions, like I said, he's very personable and kind, and he likes to play games with the students. So he'll ask them how they're doing, and then jump in if the kids are asking him to. So some teaching skills I observed, like I said, I think his class management skills and protocols are great. As far as leaving and entering the classroom, taking attendance and dressing out something they used to do. They weren't doing it this year because of the time management. And then having clear instruction and rules. He's always clear on what he wants to do, but it's very much getting to the gameplay. And he's firm but warm, like I was saying before. He's on it with that. He practices proximity control very well. He positions himself near the off-task students and starts talking to them about how they're doing and how life is going. I think it's to see if there's anything underlying, as to why they don't want to participate and have fun out there in the activity he had planned. And then he's very encouraging for the off-task students. He'll tell them that they're doing great, and they'll once he positions himself near them, he tries to give them very good feedback while he's watching the rest of the class. So for some closing statements here, I believe every experience, good or bad, is going to be beneficial to a CSUSB undergraduate. Um, the PE teacher I observed is a phenomenal coach and athletic coordinator for his school. He's a role model, and he's someone that the students look up to. He fits that stereotypical rock star on campus that we usually hear. But where I would say the less beneficial things, or I guess beneficial because I could see the things I don't want to do, are those undesirable outcomes with the funding, the class sizes being combined, and not having lesson plans ready. I'm sure that it's much easier for him to just think of them on the spot with his experience, but I would like to see, warm-ups, cool downs, and a discussion about how it pertains to the last lesson or for the future ones. And then I also learned what to avoid when I have my own classroom and the things I wish to adopt, such as just trying to lesson plan and adopt those other two we have here, the teaching skills, and bring them to my own classroom when it's my turn. Thank you guys for listening.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ariana Perez. I'm a senior at CUSUSB, and I'm currently enrolled in their credentials program, hoping to be an adaptive E teacher. And this is my observation experience at Royal Valley High School. So some background on this school, it was located in San Bernardino. I observed the grades 10th through 11th, and the class size was 55 students per class. The teacher I observed was a female. She got her single subject credential at CSUSB, and she's currently pursuing a master's in exercise science at UCR. She has 6 years of experience teaching, starting at this specific school in 2021. So some key observations. I first noticed the lack of support from the school. There were a lot of limitations in the PE department. For example, on rainy days, the students weren't allowed to play or participate on any activity on the basketball courts because they wanted them to be clean for the upcoming games. So they just sat on the bleachers and used their phones the whole PE period. Um, so this leads to lack of quality instruction. There isn't a lot of support from school. There's no accountability. There was no consequences for the students skipping or not participating, um, which also makes it really hard for the teachers to come up with student-centered lesson plans rather than subject-centered. For the class organization, my teacher did have a set routine. She had them take attendance on their numbers, dress out, then come back to the numbers and take attendance again to ensure the students weren't only coming for points, for participation points. She also had them warm up, which surprisingly not all PE teachers had their students do. Even in warm up, there's a lack of participation. A lot of the students were just on their phones. As for teachers' effectiveness, this teacher I observed had a good rapport with her students. She had a good relationship with them, which I think increased the attendance and participation with the students that did come. She also incorporated technology in her lessons. She would use TVs to have presentations on health and fitness. She used iPads to take attendance instead of traditional pen and paper. And when there was a lesson that could allow it, she used simple feedback at times, one cue at a time, one or two, and a lot of repetition. Some specific teaching skills observed. My teacher had a lot of autonomy supportive lessons and teaching by invitation, allowing them to pick between two activities instead of forcing them to, pick one activity. A lot of these students don't like participating, so it's really important that they have the option when they can, when they're able to. And she also used positive reinforcement a lot. There was this app she used where if they were participating, they had good behavior, she would add points to their account where they could use these points to buy snacks or school supplies at the student center store, which I thought was really effective to encourage participation, which is something I'd like to use in my class in the future. So my overall reflection would be to really advocate for the PE department at schools, prepare for rainy days, have lesson plans, advocate for them. And really, when I'm applying to schools, making sure that the school I'm applying to values the PE department, looking at coworkers, potential coworkers as well, as that also makes it hard to come up with lesson plans. That's something the teacher I observed shared with me. It was really difficult, and there's a lot of limitations there as well. So my overall reflection would be finding a good school that values the PE department, and that's my takeaway. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Joel Alfaro and I am a senior at Cal State University San Bernardino. So just to go into what I want to do after graduation, I do want to pursue the credential program. I'm not too sure where I want to do it yet. I know there's different options that I can choose from, both either in person or online. I know Cal State San Bernardino does offer it, so that's probably going to be the most reasonable option to go through Cal State San Bernardino and their credential program. And I also do want to pursue possibly my master's degree. I'm not too sure where I'm going to be at in life after graduation, but if all is well, then that is definitely an option for me. Also, just continuing my growth in the field of what I do. Like right now, I'm working for the city in the recreation department, so just gaining as much experience as I can, working hands-on with, sports and teaching and coaching. That's going to be my main goal after graduation, is just gaining all that experience. But today's PowerPoint is going to be focused on my observations that I did for this class, and it involved observing Miss Giacomazzi, which is at Heritage Intermediate School. So let's go into that. All right, so school information and location. Heritage Intermediate School is a California distinguished middle school located in Fontana, California. Throughout my observation hours, I observed eighth grade class periods, which were usually held in the morning hours of the day from about 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. was when I had my observations per day. So that was allowing me to do at least two classes per day. Heritage Intermediate School currently has over 1,100 students enrolled and currently has about 51 teachers. And out of that 51, there's only about five physical education teachers in the whole school. So, based off my observations and what I was able to see while I was there, was that the class sizes for the PE class periods were about 30 to 40 students per class period. So, pretty big class period per teacher. So, if you're really putting it into perspective, it was only one teacher for every 30 to 40 kids. That's a lot. That's a lot of students that you have to keep your eye on as a teacher. So, that was very interesting to see. So, instructional strategies and behaviors. So first off, this is Miss Giacomazzi, as you can see here in the PowerPoint slide. She was the PE teacher that I did observe throughout my observations. So just by observing her classes, I was able to pick up some instructional strategies, which involved positive reinforcement, feedback, which she gave a lot of with her students. She made sure to always receive feedback from them and let them know, hey, how'd you feel about this lesson? How'd you feel about this unit plan? And a lot of times they liked it. They really enjoyed her lessons and they really enjoyed engaging in them. So she was always about hearing out her students and hearing out different ways that she can improve her lesson plans for future students. Verbal instruction, it was another big one. For a lot of lessons that she was doing, she always made sure to verbally explain what she expected out of her students, and she always made sure to verbally explain what to do in this lesson plan and what not to do, and why you shouldn't do something and why you should do something. And that was very positive and a positive outlook from her students because they were able to understand her verbally. And if they didn't understand her verbally, then she would do a physical demonstration, which is the third point, which the physical demonstration could be her just acting it out and saying, okay, we're going to do this today, and let me show you guys how to do it. But sometimes she would have some students come up to the front and say, hey, understand how to do it right? Can you show the whole class? And that was something that really stuck out to me. Just having her students engage with her in her class period was pretty cool. Videos based on the lesson. So basically, we'd have there was a different observation day that I did where I didn't include in here, but it was a track day, and it was basically them running the track uh, about 3 to 4 laps per class period had to do, and their whole goal was to pass a baton each time they would hit a certain lane. And she showed some Olympic Games and different examples of how to do these track runs. So she would use YouTube. She straight up told me, hey, use whatever you need to do to get your point across to show your students on how to perform and what is expected of them during this lesson. So she made sure to let me know to use anything that I can use to get my point across in teaching. So, and she also mentioned technology is really huge in our society nowadays. So it's not anything bad in using it. So, yeah. All right, observation number one. So I had to pick three ones that caught my eye. So for the first one, it was a lesson consisted of multi-station workouts, which involved having the students participate in different series of activities such as sit-ups, push-ups, jogging in place, and jumping jacks. And being able to see Ms. Giacomazzi establish her main point of the lesson using the verbal instruction and also demonstration. She did a couple sit-ups and push-ups for them to see what she expected. kept the students engaged throughout the lesson, which was really important to see them engaged the entire time. I know a couple of students weren't really feeling, I guess, the activity, and she made it clear, like, hey, as long as you're participating, as long as you're moving, that's good enough for me. And if you are participating and really engaging in the activity, she offered extra credit. She would offer free days for the whole class, saying, hey, the majority of the class participating in our lesson for today, you guys can have a free day on Friday, which free days were pretty much they would just roll out basketballs, soccer balls, dodgeballs, and allow the students to choose whatever they wanted to do for the day. And it was pretty much considered their free day because they were allowed to do whatever they wanted. So it was a reward for the students' engagement and participation in the actual lesson. So it was just a good way in keeping the students engaged the entire time, even though they may not have wanted to perform in push-ups and sit-ups and jogging in place. It gave them a reason to do so because they let them know that on Friday, hey, if we participate for today, Friday we'll be able to do basketball, we'll do soccer, we'll do dodgeball, whatever you want to do. They had football also. So they gave them different options on what to do for the day. And something to look forward to on Friday, which was their free day. All right, so observation number two basically was the battleship game, as I mentioned before, which consisted of two partnered together students from the class having a partner system where they would sit down on this pallet here. You can see right here. They would sit on the pallet back to back. They would have a cone in between them, which was pretty much the area that they need to protect. And they would pretty much go head to head with other class periods where they had other students on platforms. And the whole point of the game was to hit the cone off the opponent's platform and in order to knock their battleship out of the game, pretty much to sink them, pretty much. So they would have a dodgeball. Each student would have a dodgeball, and they would only be able to move around on their platform using their legs. They couldn't use their arms to move around. They had to just use their legs. Their arms were able to only throw dodgeballs at the cones on the opposite end. So the whole point of the game was to knock over the person's cone. If you did so, their battleship would sink, and then those two students that had their cone knocked over would have to switch out with another two pair of students, and then they would be engaged with the game right off the bat. So it was pretty cool seeing the students engage in the activity because it would give and show big levels of teamwork and communication. Obviously, they needed that to communicate, hey, let's go here. Hey, watch out, our cone's exposed, let's block it, that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool to see teamwork and communication being a big factor in this activity. All right, so observation number three. This was more of a lesson plan that was more thrown at the students as a, hey, this is what I expect of you guys. This is just going to be what it is, straight to the point. This is what I expect of you. Just do it, okay? So this is basically just a lesson that involved the students having to go into the weight room, and each student was shown different stations that they would be engaging in. Each station had weightlifting machines that focus on the back muscles, chest muscles, arms, and lower extremities. And students were given the option to work on either they wanted to do the weightlifting machines or they could do workouts on treadmills. They wanted more cardio based. And Ms. Giacomotti did a great job in allowing her students to have the freedom to participate in areas that they felt more comfortable doing. Because I know a lot of people didn't want to do the weightlifting, they preferred doing the cardio on the treadmill. So just being able to give her students that freedom and liberty to do what they wanted without having to change her lesson plan a whole lot, that was a really cool thing to see also. All right, so student involvement and teaching effectiveness overall, every student was pretty much engaged and on task during the activities, and Ms. Giacomazzi had said that had each student had on task, everything was engaged for the lesson that Ms. Giacomazzi had for the day. For the students that were off task, however, she made it clear to re-engage them by offering, like I mentioned, extra credit and offering free days, which provided a reward to the students, which encouraged them to participate more. And then Ms. Giacomotti did a great job in keeping her students on task in all her lessons and making sure to provide feedback, both positive and negative to help improve their physical activity experiences in PE. So, as I mentioned, she would take the positive and negative feedback from her students. Sometimes they would tell her, hey, we really didn't like this area of the lesson. Sometimes they would say, we didn't really like this, we didn't want to run. And she would take any feedback, like I mentioned, and she would write it down. She would have a little notepad and write it down, what her students would tell her, so that in her future classes, where there was completely different students, she would know what not to do and what to do based on her past experiences with her current students. So that was really cool to see too how they engage with her and letting her know, hey, we don't like this. Hey, we like this. Maybe do this. Maybe not do this. That sort of things. Just seeing that partnership between the teacher and her students was pretty cool too. All right. Finally, the last thing is my overall experiences and my observations. So overall, just being able to really step into the shoes of what a physical education teacher really does, opened my eyes on what I can expect on my future career in this field of work, and being able to work side by side by an amazing, well-respected physical education teacher like Ms. Giacomazi allowed me to learn different teaching strategies that I could use when I began teaching my own lesson plans in my future jobs. Being able to observe how each student learns and seeing how they adapt to her teachings was a good way to see how each student engages in different lesson plans and how they may not like certain things, may like certain things in other areas. So I was really grateful to see Ms. Giacomazi and allowing being in her presence and picking up on any little things that I could. That was really helpful for me. And I just want to say thank you to her for allowing me to observe her classes during my observations. I know a lot of teachers may not like having people watching them, but she was always very friendly and very open to just new people coming in and trying to gain any knowledge or experience in her area of expertise. So I really do appreciate that. And overall, yeah, this was a great experience. The observations were cool, and just being able to pick up any experience that I can from any teacher is really helpful and just overall my future job. So thank you guys so much. This was my PowerPoint slash presentation on my observation hours. And yeah, appreciate it. Have a good one.
My name is Brianna Anthony Holloman, and today I am going to talk about the school site I visited for this term. I'm a senior, and after graduation, I plan to apply for the CSUSB credential in the fall. So the school information I have is Rialto Middle School. The location is Rialto, California, metropolitan area, and the grade level was also, of course, middle school. So the total numbers of the students enrolled there are 1,087 students, give or take, because lately the enrollment has been dropping from students. So the teachers have mentioned that the students are dropping of total enrollment. The total number of teachers are 44. Physical education teachers are 5 in total, and the class size for PE is 30 to 48 per PE teacher. And the teacher that I observed is credentialed in PE and APE. Her experience in teaching was 7 years in middle school, and she's a female. So the brief summary of my observation is, one, the most impressive class organization was that they were routined for the student fitness component every day, assigned seating entering the gym, and they had outside lessons, which were focused on play and health-related physical activity. They also had flexibility on their static stretching every day, every class, muscular endurance, which included 10 to 15 sit-ups, 10 push-ups, planks, leg crunches, and etc. Cardiovascular endurance was outside every 2 weeks, which included the 20-minute mile run, which is a standard. And then the student participation was pretty on task because majority of the students would participate in the warm-up, the fitness components, and follow instructions when the transition outside. So it wasn't too many hiccups in that area. Some off-task behaviors were a few students would get lazy during their warm-up, but then the teacher I observed would mention, like, if you guys are looking around or not in the direction that you're supposed to be in during that muscular endurance or warm-up, she would mark off points so they understood their goal and they would get back on task. As for the teachers teaching, she was highly effective. She was always consistent on behavior management because if a student would talk, she would let them know, like, I'm talking, or if a colleague was talking, she would let them know, like, I will take off points. So pay attention, please. She also did physical demonstration when it came to certain lessons or certain examples they needed. She gave specific feedback when they ran their 20-minute mile run, which was awesome. When some students would ask how many laps they were, she would tell them. And then if they needed to speed it up, she would say, I would keep this pace. And then if a student wouldn't be on time with their to pass with a B or higher, she would say, I will speed it up about 20 to 30 seconds more to make sure you meet your goal for today. So she was always encouraging. She constantly interacted with the students, whether it was high, getting to know them more, seeing how their day was going. They would even ask her how her day was going, what they were doing for the day. So it was constant interaction. She also had witness, always prepared for each class, clear goals for each lesson, and she made sure her female students would dress out in the locker room because her and her colleagues, they all collaborated together. She also communicated clearly every single day. So the specific teaching skills observed was organizational instruction. So when they would start, when they would end, they would blow the whistle once or twice. And then what happened if a student had a question, they would answer it or she would answer it with her students because each class was broken up in with each PE teacher. Informational instruction. So she would present one idea at a time and explain if needed and demonstrate that one skill. So for example, when running, she would say, make sure you have upright posture. And she was always consistent, structured, compassionate, no matter what, which I love because it also teaches me as a student when I become a PE teacher or APE teacher that I could use these same skills and follow along and keep a plan every day. I also would do teach physical and social responsibility through physical activity and integrate everything they're learning in the class or lesson to so they can take it outside of PE. Overall observation experience, was it helpful? Yes, it was because she was very positive all the time. She had a consistent schedule. Even if things were inconvenient, she would go back and let them know and would be very quick on her feet and thinking, which was very well rounded. And then she used a combination of instructional methods. And then she was consistent in caring every day for her students, no matter what it was. And I thank her for it. So that's all I have for you today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Noah Rodriguez. I'm currently a senior student who will be graduating this fall with my degree in PE/APE. I plan on entering a credential program immediately after my schooling's done. However, I'm still unsure about where I want to pursue the credential at, whether it be staying at Cal State San Bernardino or somewhere else. For this observation assignment, I'm going to be talking about Joe Baca Middle School. I did observe multiple sites throughout this semester, but Joe Baca is the one I'm deciding to talk about. A little information about Joe Baca Middle School. It's located in an urban area. The total students is about 1,000. School has around 40 teachers. And the physical education department has 4 members of it. However, I observed an APE teacher who collaborates with the general ed to create the curriculum for whatever they're going to do with their student. The class I observed was around 28 students. The teacher I observed's name is Carrie Scott, who is a certified APE teacher for the Colton Joint Unified School District. She has a ton of experience. She's been doing it for a long time. She does elementary, middle, and high school throughout her week. Her course load is pretty, or her workload is pretty, it's pretty good. Next slide. A little summary about my observation. So I observed the students participating in multiple activities. I seen them do a free play day. I've seen them play baseball. I've seen them play capture the flag. And since the class I observed is a mix between general ed and APE students, the APE teacher, Carrie Scott, who I was observing, and the general ed teacher would be collaborating on the lesson for the day, making specific modifications, and deciding what's the best way to observe whatever their lesson might be for that day. Some of the specific teaching skills that I observed and really stood out to me was the use of congruent and simple feedback. One example that I could bring back is the teacher would remind students to keep moving or stay with your group. Feedback that directly supported the expectations for the day and was super easy to follow. The second was the use of group-specific and positive feedback. She would give quick little reminders out loud to the whole class, like remember to respect space, little things like that, which helped reinforce behavior without singling anyone out. I know Professor So talked about that a lot. Just give hints to the students to allow them to know that, hey, get it in check, guys. You know. Positive, specific, task-focused feedback to improve the student behavior and learning. I observe that so much, especially with the APE students. You want to make sure that they know exactly what their expectations are, because if they don't, then you can't get mad at them for going against what you want them to do. Okay. Now my overall experience. I was talking to my professor yesterday in our end of the year mock interviews, and I was explaining how observations are one of the most important, impactful things that I've gone through as throughout my learning journey. It helped me see how different choice-based activities can work well when there's structure and support behind them. The APE teacher's presence was actually felt throughout the class. She had a special way of connecting with her students to make sure their behavior was on task, to make sure their learning was on task. And energy, encouragement, and structure are the three words I came away with when I was thinking about this presentation. Those are the three things that I took away from my observations, at least for this specific experience. Encouraging and make sure it's a structured class. I really found the teacher I was observing made it super clear on her instructions and made sure everyone understood before moving on. Modifications, inclusive strategies, a bunch of stuff we learned about throughout the semester. And that's the end of my presentation. I kept it right at 5 minutes, so thank you. Bye.